Hello and welcome to this training on how to succeed in B2B and corporate training. Now, many of you out there may be very familiar already with creating online courses, online coaching programs. Perhaps some of you are professional speakers. Maybe there are some of you here who have been delivering face-to-face corporate training or training to businesses in the past. Now, the world has changed significantly over the past couple of years, and we now have the opportunity to go out there bigger and badder than ever and enable amazing transformational training, consulting, learning experiences, as well as done for you services, and utilizing technology and face-to-face skills to also create blended learning experiences. In this workshop, I'm going to be taking you through all of the different ways that you can find, reach out to, and secure yourself corporate training or sell your online courses to businesses and to corporates. Let's go. So just as a quick overview, here's what we're going to cover in this particular training. First of all, we're going to talk about the main differences between B2B and C2C when it comes to selling training and courses. We're going to talk about how to connect with high-paying corporate clients. How do you find them? How do you reach out to them? Where are they? How do you kind of get that initial contact in the first place? We're going to be talking about how to actually craft out a training or course provision proposal, right? These are probably one of the most important steps when it comes to getting yourself a corporate contract or a large business contract of any kind. So we're going to walk through what must be included in a proposal and the kind of things that you're going to need to prepare in order to have that competitive advantage when you're going out to the corporate space. And we're also going to talk a little bit about pricing and packaging your offer and a tiny bit of logistics behind the scenes, some little tricks that I've used when I have been using particularly the Thinkific platform to provide blended learning experiences or courses to corporate clients. First of all, a tiny little bit about me. I am a verified and approved Thinkific expert, one of the first ones to come onto the experts program back in 2015. I have over 14 years experience in writing training for corporates and government, as well as delivering corporate training in the corporate and government space as well. So it's a space that I'm extremely familiar and experienced in, and I have personally acquired and delivered over $8 million worth of training projects to corporates, to businesses, to governments, federal, state and local, and a number of those have been ASX listed and Fortune 500 listed companies, national and international organizations. I also most recently held a role as the executive director and head of campus at the University of Notre Dame in Australia. Hold the record for being the youngest university executive director in Australian history. The university was ranked number 1 at the time of my leadership. So I've held executive roles myself, as well as providing services as a contractor and a supplier. I understand what it means to be in the position of the decision maker in the organization. I know exactly what it's like to be the person who is responsible for any spending or any supplier acquisition, having held senior executive roles, leadership and management roles in businesses and organizations, particularly in the training departments or of training institutions. And so I would like to share some of this experience that I have with you today to enable you to understand how the process works and what you need to do to be able to convince that person who's holding those purse strings and making those decisions. So what can you actually sell to corporates and businesses? Well, really, the sky's the limit. You can be as creative as you want here. And it may be, for instance, that you have just online courses available at the moment, just completely self-study, no involvement from you, type online courses on your platform. Now, corporates and large scale businesses are actually very, very into short micro-learning self-study online courses these days, particularly since the COVID boom happened. We've actually created a sense of normality around self-study training that only a couple of years ago was a lot harder to convince corporates to purchase. So we have a really, really amazing opportunity here for those of you who want to just sell your online courses as they are. The other thing you can be selling is face-to-face training. So there are a lot of businesses that will be within your local area, within a few hours drive from you. Perhaps you are even able to fly and travel around your state or even your country to provide training to corporates and large-scale organizations as well. Face-to-face training can come in the form as a short 1 hour, one-off workshop. It could be a full half day or a full day. It could even be visiting that organization, delivering elements of training over a period of time. So depending on the type of training that you're teaching, how long it's going to take for that transformation or that effect to take place in the participants of the training will all make a big difference as to the kind of offers that you can put forward to your corporates. Now, it may be that if you teach one particular subject, you could actually create a couple of package options as to how the corporate could purchase that. We will go into this in a little bit more detail in this training, but as an example, just to throw it out there at the moment, you could have just a 1 hour version of that particular training topic. You could have a half-day version, a full-day version. You could even have a 6-month version where you keep coming back. Perhaps you have a blended learning approach where you have some of the content delivered online, where the students are required to self-study in period breaks, and then there may be, for instance, once a month or once a quarter, you actually go into the organization or go live online with that organization and deliver physical training yourself live in person or live on the Zoom platform or whatever platform that organization is requiring you to use. It may be that you have to use their particular software, such as Teams or whatever it is that they're using. So you can be very, very creative here. Those of you who are doing coaching or consulting, by the way, those two things are very different. So please make sure you know the difference, you know which one you are, because they charge very differently, they are sold very differently, the way that they are measured, the effectiveness of them is very different as well in terms of the corporate experience. So make sure you know the difference, but you can actually be adding on coaching and or consulting to any of the training that you're offering as well. This can be like an add-on, for instance, that the organization can choose. So you can be creative about the actual delivery method itself, but also you can be very creative about how you actually sell this particular service, product, course, training, workshop, program, whatever it is that you're offering, in terms of the number of people that it's being serviced to. So one way of selling courses to businesses or corporates is to, for instance, just let people in the organization know that they can individually purchase the training themselves. So there's always going to be people that are always looking to improve themselves, they're looking to get promotions. Those individuals may be interested in just buying your course on their own. Perhaps they have a fund that they have inside their organization or some kind of budget that they have for their own personal development or professional development in the business. Perhaps they're paying for it out of their own pocket even. But what's most likely and most common in the corporate and B2B training delivery space is that the actual client is the purchaser. It is, and we're going to talk a bit more about that in just a second, it's not necessarily the individual, it's the organization itself that is the client that's usually purchasing a program based on its identified workforce development needs, and they are normally putting that program on their staff or their employees in a maybe less than have a lot of choice kind of way, right? So we can be quite clever about targeting or focusing in on that organization's need to provide training such as that you deliver. And I will be talking about how to sell that in this workshop. And offering a number of different purchase options for it. So as an example, this is an actual screenshot from my own Thinkific account up here on the screen for a course that I was selling to corporate client. And basically this particular course on its own inside my Thinkific account is $97. So if an individual employee wanted to buy this particular course, it was $97 per head. And they could just go in, pay the $97 and boom, they're there. But I also wanted to make it available to a whole range of organizations, some of which were just a few hundred employees, some of them thousands of employees. Now, of course, if an organization is paying $97 a head for thousands of employees, it's going to get very, very expensive and may be considered unaffordable by that organization. And so what I did is using the multiple or additional price feature inside Thinkific. So you click into your course, you go to pricing, and you go to additional pricing. You actually can add in as many different additional prices as you like. So on the example you've got here, you've seen how I've actually incentivized increased user licenses. Now, what user licenses is in this example here is purely I've used that language to say to my client, anyone can use this. In the pricing description, I simply titled it bulk purchase discount, and I've created different options. So for instance, if they go up to 10 users, I'll discount it from $97 down to $87 per head. If they go up to 20 users and they buy 20 places, I will discount it down to $77. You can see the examples here. If they bulk purchased 50 user places, I discounted it again to only $57. So they almost got half price off per head by buying 50 user licenses. So it's still great for me. I'm still making good money, but it's incentivizing that organization to actually bulk purchase. Now, the one thing I did then for the larger organizations that had thousands and thousands of people, is I created an unlimited user license. So I basically added in a monthly subscription pricing option at $5,500 per month for this particular course. But that gave those clients, basically gave them unlimited coupons that they could use every single month for their staff, for their employees, at an unlimited rate. And of course, I then gave them an agreement whereby they actually had to stay in that for either 6 or 12 months, depending on the organization I was working with. But some of them stuck to a 12-month contract, and some of them were locked in for a 6-month contract. And you can see here how obviously that is going to be a very significant top up on your bottom line if you have a number of these clients on board paying the monthly fee for their unlimited user license. This can become extremely powerful. So the other option is this. You can see here, this is a monthly option. The other thing you can do is actually give them what you might call like an annual license. So you might just charge them a one-off set fee to be able to access those online courses for the entire year for an unlimited amount of students. So you might just set that at a one-off price, send them an invoice, and then you create their special user access for them inside your Thinkific account. So I know we've talked a little bit about pricing. We'll go back to a little bit of pricing again later on, but I want to kind of give you the ideas here that there isn't a set offering that you provide to businesses or to corporates. You can be very, very creative, and the idea is that when you do reach out and connect with this particular audience, you're going to be asking the questions of, what are your current workforce development needs? What are your current inefficiencies in your business? What are the areas that your staff, could do with the most support in right now? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are the things that your organization is focusing on achieving over the next 12 months? And all of these questions allow you to kind of find out what that organization's problems are, where their weaknesses are in terms of their staff's skills. It's all about going back to the capability of their organization. Capability comes back to people. So you're going to be asking them, what areas of capability are you looking to improve on or advance? What weaknesses do you have in the organization that go back to staff skills and staff capability? Because again, that gap analysis is going to show you what you need to really, really pinpoint their pains on in your proposal, which is going to enable you to then show how your course, your training, your workshops, whatever it is that you've chosen to offer them, is going to help them the most. So there we go. Get creative. Are you going to do online courses and sell just online courses to corporates? Are you going to deliver face-to-face training? They might be one-day workshops. Or are you going to create some kind of blended learning experience that you're going to offer to corporates, where part of that is delivered either face-to-face or live online, and in between, are they going to be given some kind of online learning inside your Thinkific account that's going to help them move through your program? So take a pen and paper now, write in the chat box, write in the comments below what kind of offerings you're going to be selling to your corporate clients. course and training specific differences. Now, there's also some differences in the way that you're going to have to produce, develop, and present your training from B2B to C2C. There's some big differences here. The first one is that your organization you're working for is going to expect you to contextualize the training that you've written to their particular organization and their particular industry. So what do I mean by contextualization? This means applying the training, which might be for you currently very generic, into the context, the environment of their world. So let's pretend let's go with the leadership example and stick with that. Leadership is, you can apply leadership to any industry, any job role, absolutely any business whatsoever. But if your particular client that you're going to deliver this leadership training round to is a mining company, you are going to need to contextualize that leadership training that you've developed to their particular industry. You're going to need to give examples and case studies in a mining worksite environment. You're going to need to use the job titles of miners, for instance. It might be that you've got underground miners, or supervisors is what managers are called in that industry rather than managers, right? So you've got to use their language, you've got to refer to their policies and procedures, you've got to refer to their job titles, you've got to refer to the kind of work and daily operational procedures that they are working within every single day, right? These organizations are paying you more because they're expecting you to come in and understand their business, talk their language, and present your training in the capacity and in the relevancy of what the people working in that space know, live, and breathe every single day. Now, the other thing is you're going to have to create different versions of your training depending on the level of employee that you're targeting it at. So they will expect to see a difference in the depth of content and even in what you're teaching from frontline employees, for instance, compared to if you were teaching that to supervisors, compared to if you were teaching that to executive leaders. They will actually want to see the differences between those variations of the same program in your curriculum development program. They're going to want to literally see, what am I going to learn if it's a frontline person? What examples are you going to give to make it relevant to that level of employee? And how are you going to deliver that exact same training if it's somebody who happens to be an executive leader in the team, so that they are able to interpret and apply that knowledge, those skills, that information to their level of work. So you're going to have to do that bit of extra work in here. And again, this is why the income that you receive is significantly higher, because a lot of the thing that you're really getting paid for is not the delivery itself, it's the preparation. The preparation for a corporate client is usually significantly more than even the delivery of the program actually is. The other thing that the corporates and the B2Bs are going to really expect from you as well is that your training is presented in their branding. Okay, so classic example here, I'm putting this training together for Thinkific users. This is not my branding. This is Thinkific's branding, because I'm delivering for Thinkific right now. When you go out and deliver to a corporate, you will need to probably put your training into their slide decks, in their colors, in their fonts, with their logo all over it. This is an expectation, and it is very, very normal in the corporate space to do this. Now, again, going to online courses, because we're going to be able to blend, we're going to be able to sell our online courses here. This is where you're going to want to also change the thumbnail on your dashboard to be in their branding with their logo on it as well. The great thing about Thinkific is that you can actually set that thumbnail, that course, to hidden or private, so that your public can't see that course. Okay, so if you go into your course, you click on settings, and then you click on hidden or private, and that will give you the opportunity to make that course only available via the link to your corporate clients who have purchased that program. But when they see it on their dashboard, it's going to be all in their branding, and it's going to look super duper professional. Another thing you're probably going to need to do is actually add their staff as users. So whoever has purchased the program, you're probably going to need to have departmental heads, or maybe the training manager, maybe the HR manager, who will need to be added to your Thinkific account as an analytical user, so that they can go in and do their analytic reporting. It's very easy to do. You just click on your users, you add a new user, and when you add that particular person from their organization in, you can actually, underneath their name, select the access that they can have to your account. Selecting the analytical user function allows them to come in and see their student progress, allows them to see the lessons that they've completed, how far they've got, and actually print out a progress report of their staff. This is great because it saves you having to go in and do it, and it enables that person, to really see how the program's going. So it's a very, very fantastic feature that I love with the Thinkific platform there. You may be required to actually provide reports to the organization as well. So depending on how long the program's going for, let's pretend it's a program that's spread out over a few months, it may actually be expected of you to provide a full report every Friday. It could be the end of every month, but it's very, very likely that you will need to provide reporting, and using the Thinkific reporting features to download, export that, put it in a nice branded document. Don't just send them an Excel sheet, guys, right? Think this is going to take me, maybe 30 minutes a month. Make sure you calculate that cost into whatever it is that you're charging them for the program, the cost of that time it will take, but do it properly. Put that report, extract it, make it a beautiful cover image, and put, January, the 2022's report for X business, and give them an overview of how many students have gone through. Make it nice, make it professional, and send that through to them using your exported data from the Thinkific platform. Now, the other thing they're definitely going to expect is certification. So you will need to make sure that for each of your courses that people are accessing via your Thinkific platform, you have got your certificates turned on. And I would recommend that you design a template that is co-branded. So it would need to have your logo on there, and I would put in the logo of the organization on that certificate as well. So that, again, co-branding, it looks good, it's a partnership, it shows your attention to detail, and it really does get you points with these corporates. So there we go. There are some very course and training specific differences when it comes B2B to C2C as well. Now, I know this might seem overwhelming, okay? It's as if there's enough to do, Sarah, right? But I promise you, it is well worth the effort if this is the space that you want to go into. And once you've got a lot of these things done once, doing it from there on afterwards becomes, just like anything, a process that you follow, and it gets easier every single time. You have a lot of the groundwork already done. Most things are just reusing templates or duplicating content. So it's a very, very, very wonderful experience going out to organizations, and working with larger groups of people, and obviously getting that very significant difference in income as well. So it is a lot of work, yes, and that's why, my friends, the rewards are so much higher. So how do we actually find these corporate clients? How do we connect with them in the first place? Well, the first thing you want to do is make sure you know which niche, which industry it is that you actually want to work with, right? Are you going to focus just on mining companies? Are you going to focus on medical institutions? Are you going to focus on serving educational institutions? Are you going to focus on serving engineers, right? Pick if there's a particular industry, first of all, that you want to specialize in reaching out to, or reach out to first. Now, I recommend that whatever your kind of background is, wherever you've come from, the type of industry that has been most prominent in your own background, in whatever sense, should be the industry that you begin with, right? It enables you to have a better understanding of who they are, what they do. It's going to make that contextualization a lot easier for you. It's going to help you speak their language a bit easier and really understand what perhaps some of their problems and their issues might be based on your simple experience of that industry so far. So I would pick an industry first, because this is going to then really help you focus in on how you're going to search for the people that you're going to reach out to. Once you know which industry you're going to go to, I definitely would be thinking about what regions are you going to work with. Now, you may be limited by any kind of travel restrictions. I don't know. You may transportation, whatever you have available. You may focus just on your city. You may focus just on your state. You may focus on your whole country. Perhaps you're like, I don't care. I want to live that laptop lifestyle with the suitcase and be traveling all around the world to different corporate organizations, which, by the way, when you get a very big client, certainly will happen. If a bigger client loves the work that you've done in your local city's head office, for instance, they will fly you to their other countries' head offices to do the same. This is the reality of corporate work, and things get big fast when you do a good job teaching or training to corporate businesses. And this is why I say this effort is exponentially worth it. You do a good job in the city of Sydney in Australia, they will send you to their Singapore office to go and do it there. They will then fly you over to their US office to go and do it over there. I know, this is real, it happens. This is exactly how I was living my life pre-COVID. So it can happen for you too, and it will. The world will go back to normal eventually. So let's start planning for that now, shall we? And get this ready for when we're there. Now, the next thing you need to know is who has the decision of the authority of decision making. So I've mentioned before that it's not the actual individual employee that we're targeting here. We are targeting the person who's paying for this training of yours. And that is going to be a variation of some of the things I've got up here on this slide. So it could be a training manager, it could be a HR manager, it could be the head or the director of training, the head or director of people development, the workforce development manager, workforce development director. Now, that's not exhaustive, but they are usually the kinds of roles that are making these decisions about A, what training they actually need, B, who they're going to hire, and C, how much they're going to pay and whether they're going to pay it, right? So these are the people you're actually talking to. These individuals, these guys here, or ladies, girls, are your client, right? It's not the student that's your client, it is the training manager. It is the HR manager. It's whoever in that particular business is making decisions around the staff training. This is where the key difference lies. Now, a few different things you can do. I actually got my first ever corporate contract with a local government, and I got it simply by reaching out to them. I literally picked up the phone and I said, hello, my name is, I live in this town, I'm an expert in the following topics, and I would love to come and provide some training to your government staff and also to the local community. Would you like me to start now? And it took a couple of months, obviously, to just go through the process. I had to send a proposal through detailing all the different kinds of training that I could provide. But in a few months, I had a very, very juicy contract delivering training to all of the government employees and also to the community that that local council was serving. So all I did was pick the phone up, guys. Your local municipality, your local shire, your local town will have a local council or shire of some kind. Go to their office. Literally walk your little self there off your desk, knock on the door and say, I would like to talk to the CEO, or I would like to talk to whoever's the head of training for the council, and I really want to have a chat because I'm an expert in this and I would really like to provide training to your staff and to your town. That is the beginning. That is all it took me to get my first ever contract, and to this day still get training contracts for businesses, for corporates, and with governments as well. So that's particularly handy where you've got a government office that you can go and walk into, which most towns have. Now, the second massive contract I received was with a national bank. It was actually with the Bank of Valletta in Malta. I was living there in the Mediterranean for a while. I got it on LinkedIn. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but LinkedIn, this was years ago now, years and years ago. I got my first ever corporate client on LinkedIn. And ironically, that project actually went on to earn me a contract delivering training to European government heads across multiple European countries. I had to hire translators to fly around Europe with me, delivering leadership training to government heads, right? And it all started with a LinkedIn conversation, which got me a contract training staff at a bank for well over 2 years. And then that led on to this European contract. So again, the ripple effect in business, once you are in the door, guys, with these corporates, once your foot is in the door, reputation spreads. It is a small world. People talk, training managers talk, HR managers talk. They say, hey, we need a leadership person. Hey, we need a mindset person. Hey, we need a whatever it is person, right? There are small groups. These people talk to each other. I know for a fact, I've been there. I've been an executive leader. I've been a training manager of large businesses. We all go to groups. We all message each other. We email blast each other and say, can somebody recommend someone? Because it saves us going through the entire tender process. It saves us having to put out requests for tender, right? If someone's recommended someone like you, they'll pass on your email address, and that training manager is likely to just give you a buzz and say, hey, organization A said that you were brilliant. When can you come in and do it for us too? That is how it works, right? So the first few times you do this is going to be tough. You get in the door, you do a great job. Things just literally snowball from there. It's quite exciting and mind-blowing. So I'm just going to share my screen with you in terms of the LinkedIn thing, because I want to show you one of the things that I did and do to connect with the correct people in my field so that I can outreach, so that I can start those conversations with them and get myself an opportunity to submit a proposal. So I'm just going to take you to my LinkedIn screen and I'll show you some of the things that I do to make that happen. So here we are over on my LinkedIn channel. What we're going to do here is we're going to use the search function. So let's pretend that I am going to target mining companies with my training, and I am going to focus on specifically Western Australia. I am recording this at the time of COVID. I can't travel anywhere. We still can't leave our state here in WA at the moment of filming this. So I'm going to focus on mining companies in Western Australia. What you're going to do here is you're going to go on over to LinkedIn, click in the search bar, and remember who it is we're targeting. We're targeting the training managers, the HR managers, the workforce development managers. They're the people who are making the decisions, and they're the people who have the approval or authority of delegation over a particular budget for their staff training. So let's say I want to target training manager, and I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to get a whole heap of results here that at the moment are not going to be particularly relevant. So I'm going to filter this a tiny bit more. I am first of all going to let's go all filters on this drop down box here. Now we can go for our first connections, second connections, third connections. I want to connect with brand new people. First connections are people that I'm already connected with. So I'm going to go for second and third only, because that's going to show people that I am not yet a connection with. Now specifically, I am looking at Australia. I can actually even add in a location here. So for me, I'm going to type in Perth, Western Australia, because that is my very specific city that I am nearest to, that I want to work with. Now here's where it gets interesting. We can now start selecting current companies. So if I'm going to target mining companies, this is what I would do next. I would type in mining company Perth, Australia into Google. And I want to get a list of all of these mining companies, and you will find that Google's already done all of the hard work for you, right? So click here and it will bring up all of these companies. So there we go. We've got Perth Mining, Australian Mines, Mining Corporate, blah, blah, blah. All right, so we can go in and start typing in all of these individually. Let's pretend I want to particularly target a company. There's a big one here, Rio Tinto. You've probably heard of it. The Rio Tinto mine. Okay, and I'm just going to press show results. Now, I've made that very, very specific to show you just how specific you can get. Boom, I have found the training manager at Rio Tinto, personal training manager at Rio Tinto, the training manager. So here we go, learning and development advisor. So these are all the kinds of people that I am definitely going to want to be connecting with. Okay, so I'm going to press add a note. You can leave a message. You can play around here in terms of how personalized you actually want this to be. But this is the first port of call. Now I personally spend maybe once a month, twice a month, I will go in and I will again search for my real targeted people. Remember, people are losing their jobs or changing their jobs or moving on or moving around. Your connections that are relevant this month might be different different next month. So I go back in and I go and find whoever the new training manager is at these different kinds of organizations. But the point here is to find this target person, build up your connections in this space, make sure you're being helpful on your profile, sharing your topic, sharing tips about what it is that you teach, what you do, what you consult in. These people are going to start seeing that on your thread or in their news feed once you guys are connected. Now, the other thing you can then do is obviously once you've connected with them and they've accepted your request, this is when you can then go on and reach out to them and start that conversation. You know, you can reach out to them via direct message. It may be, you know, you do a little bit of stalking and go and Google this person and see if there's a way of finding their contact information or email address. Perhaps even you could literally just phone up their office. And by the way, this is the best way, it's worked for me best, is and ask to speak to them. So if I see that this person works at Rio Tinto in Perth, I would literally pick up the phone. I would call Rio Tinto's Perth office and say, hello, my name's Sarah Corner. I was just wondering if I could possibly speak to Sandra Slattery, please. Boom, right? More often than not, that person on the front desk will go, yeah, sure, just putting you through now. Boop. Done. If they say what it's about, you say it's about training. Well, she's the learning and development advisor, so they're just going to go, okay, beep, straight through to Sandra. Hi, Sandra. My name's Sarah. I'm just reaching out to you. I see that you're the learning and development advisor at Rio Tinto. I am an expert in leadership training, and I've got a few workshops that I'd love to send through to you that I could possibly pop down and deliver for you over the next few months down at the Perth office there. I'm just wondering if I could maybe grab your email address so I could send you through some information about the training we have. She'll probably say yes, just send it through. Here's my email, and that's when you, boom, send through the formal proposal into her inbox. Even better, print it out, stick it in the snail mail and post it to her office so that she has the printed copy on her desk as well, and that doesn't become a digital graveyard dust collector when she stars the email and promises herself she'll read it later but doesn't get around to it. I always print them out and post them in the snail mail as well. It has a very spectacular effect there. So there we go, that's just one of the ways. Regularly connecting with these target clients, choosing the location, the specific job title of the decision maker who is responsible for the acquisition of trainers and training providers, and is responsible for making the decision about whether they spend the money on you or not. Going through, connecting with them, reaching out, picking up the phone, asking to speak to that individual, sending them a proposal by email and sending them a proposal in the post as well. So make a note for yourself to start cracking on with that and those connections today. Going back to all of the other ways that we can actually work with our corporate clients, connect with those corporate clients. One of them is to actually speak at conferences or deliver free mini trainings or mini workshops to your perfect customer. This is actually how I hit my first $1 million in my business. I actually went on to just Google, type in the industry that you particularly want to target. So for me, let's pretend that's mining. I'm using that in this example here. I typed into Google mining conference Perth. So type in the industry, then the word conference, and then your city that you want to target first. Hit enter and it will bring up all of that industry's conferences that are happening in that city near you. I literally picked up the phone to the event organizer, the conference organizers, and I said, hello, my name is, I'm an expert in, and I would love to come to your Blur conference being held in Blur month and deliver a presentation to you on the topic of title, right? And in that topic, in that presentation, I'd really love to deliver the following key things, give them the 3 things that you really would love to cover in that presentation. And dear event organizer, I will do it free of charge, right? Professional speakers charge a lot of money. If you're offering to do it for free, you are probably going to get the stage. This is certainly what I found through my experience. It got to a point where I was delivering presentations a few times a week in my local city. And as soon as you're up on that stage and you finish your presentation, you are seen as the expert in that field purely because of the fact that you're standing on the stage. You will then have a queue of your perfect customers waiting for you at the bottom of the stage when you finish your talk. This happens every single time if you've delivered a great presentation. And 90% of the time, I would walk away with people saying, can you come to my office tomorrow or the next day or Monday? Because I would love to talk to you about you delivering more of this, or consulting us on this, or training us on this thing that you just presented about on the stage. It happens, it works. It is by far one of the most powerful ways of getting corporate clients, because you're not having to promise them you're an expert in something. You get to show them. When you're up on that stage, they get to experience that you actually know what you say you know. They get to see and experience themselves that you are the expert that you are saying that you are, and see your style and if it's going to fit with their organization. And a lot of people who have a need for that particular area of training will come up to you after you finish your talk and say, can you come and do that for us? And of course, you nod your head and shake their hand gratefully and say you will send them an email in a few minutes time. Run to your hotel room, run back to your house and get that proposal sent out very, very quickly. So other ways that I have got corporate clients is, I've said to you, I've worked with a lot of ASX listed, Fortune 500 public listed companies. These guys pay lots of money, and they are really quite satisfying to go in and work with. I mean, there's no real greater sense of pride sometimes than coming out of one of these humongous famous offices and going, I'm actually teaching these people. It's very, very cool. A little bit of the ego at play there, guys, but it's a thing, right? I've done that by simply going to Google, our good old friend Google, and typing in ASX listed companies Australia, or Fortune 500 companies. And lists come up. There's just Excel sheets that come up. There are websites that actually list these organizations. Just go onto those websites, click, follow, use the LinkedIn process to find the person you need to speak to at that organization in that location. And that's one of the fastest ways of getting through those kinds of businesses. It will blow your mind how many of those will go, oh yeah, that would be great, thank you. Sure, we'd love to talk to you. Send us your proposal through. It's incredible. I've mentioned to you about going to their office. I've talked about snail mail. Guys, snail mail is so old, it's sexy again. I actually got a heap of corporate training work by sending out copies of my book to the training managers of some of my target organizations. So I wrote a book, I printed them all out. I just got the postal address off of Google. I stuck it in the mail, and I put a note inside each of my books saying, dear person's name, training manager, here's a gift from me. P.S. I would love to come to name of organization and provide training and workshops on the topic of this book. I look forward to hearing from you. Here's my email address, blah, 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 blah. So obviously put your contact details in there, post it through, boom. I had so many people phone me up and go, oh my goodness, I've never been sent, a gift in the post before to my desk. It will go straight to their desk because it's got their name on the front of it. The receptionist isn't going to open it and shred it and throw it in the bin, especially when it's a thing like a book or a gift or a present. It will sit on their desk. And so many of them phoned me. They phoned me going, thank you so much for the book. And boom, they turned into very decent contracts not too many months later. Another thing you can do, guys, is register yourself with speaker bureaus or speaking agents. So again, good old Google, type in speaker bureau, your city. And these guys are agents, basically, where you list your profile, you list your area of expertise. Corporates and conferences go to speaking agencies, they go to speaking bureaus to source speakers. So if you are registered on the books of speaker bureaus and speaker agencies, they actually will pimp you out, right? They will pimp you to these corporate organizations and to big conferences. They will negotiate the terms for you, take the money for you. When you turn up and deliver your training, they usually then pay you your fee minus a little percentage that they take as having been your manager. But you would not have got that work without them being the man in the middle and basically being the person that's presenting you to these organizations. Really good. I love speaker bureaus. They've been very good to me in the past. So I recommend that you Google speaker bureaus and get yourself listed so that these corporates can find you. Now, another thing you want to do is look for tenders. So tenders is a very formal application process to be a delivery provider or service provider to an organization, particularly to government. So usually governments and large organizations always put out requests for tenders, and you can only get that training job or that course delivery job if you've actually gone through the tender application process and been successful. Now, this does require a whole range of skills in tender writing and everything, but again, it's well worth it. You can actually register on all these tender websites, usually for free, and you'll get sent emails regularly by those websites to let you know when tenders come up in your area. So just type in, tender website and then your region. And there will be ones that are quite specific to your state, to your city, to your local government, to your federal government, and even to businesses that you particularly want to work with. Type in the field of expertise that you have in the email notification section, and it will then send you email notifications when tenders come up in your particular field of expertise. Boom, you can fill in the paperwork, submit it, and who knows, like me, could probably end up winning yourself some very, very big contracts, which are very cool. The other thing you can do, and I've actually done this before, it's a bit funny and it's a bit cheeky, but this has worked for me, is going to job sites and seeing seeing jobs that are what you do as a contractor, as a freelancer, and actually writing to that organization and go, like for instance, let's say that there's a job advertised for a leadership trainer. I've actually contacted those organisations and said, hey, I see that you've got a job advert up for a leadership trainer. Well, as you know, taking on a full-time employee is a significant cost overhead that, you know, you're going to have to commit to for years to come. Why don't you just outsource this to a contracted leadership trainer like me? And of course, you're only going to have to pay me for when I actually turn up, and you don't have to pay for all of my superannuation, retirement fund, my taxes, la 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 la. I listed out all those things. I was like, I just turn up and do the training. Boom. And I actually got a number of contracts doing that, and they took the jobs down. They took the job advert down because they just hired me to come and do it a couple of times a year instead of having to have a full-time employee. So, you know, you can be clever and smart with this, guys. It works. It works. Alrighty, let's talk about training proposals. You are going to have to put together some proposals. If you're sending out any proposals to corporates or businesses, please don't just send an email. Don't just have an email with, I'm going to teach this, here's the title of my training, here's how much I'm going to charge you. It's really unlikely to work for you. And I just don't think it gives the best look, even if it does work for you. I think if you're going out for corporates, you know, having been the person, guys, having been the decision maker, having been the one who holds the purse strings, having been the person in these corporate organizations that is deciding who's going to get the business, those who put some effort into the presentation of their proposal, those who put effort into detail and provide thorough information about what it is that's being sold, are always the ones that I've chosen to get the business. And being on the other side as the actual provider, I'm telling you now, I've always had comments come back on the proposal looked great, it was so neat, it was so tidy, it was so professional, it was so clear. You know, our bosses looked at this and it got approved and signed off straight away because it looked like these people know their stuff, because it's presented in a way that implies that they care. So a couple of things that you really want to be making sure. Make sure you do a proper decent proposal with a beautiful cover image. Make sure that it's co-branded in your branding and their branding, your logo and their logo side by side on that front cover, so that it basically implies that the partnership already exists. You know, you're saying we are going to work together. This isn't me trying to take your money. We're going to be a team. We're going to work together in partnership, and together we're going to achieve this. Really powerful way to show that togetherness of looking for success as an outcome. Make sure that by the end of it, you save it as a PDF. Don't ever send anything as a Word document. Make sure it's got proper footers, it's got proper page numbers, it's got proper formatting, borders, really nice design throughout the document. You know, with platforms like Canva now, anyone can make beautiful designs. I used to actually have to hire a full-time graphic designer to do mine for me back in the day when everything had to be done on, you know, Photoshop and stuff. Now we have Canva at our disposal where we can get ourselves beautiful documents made up. Now I do actually have a template that you guys can grab. It is inside my Edupreneur Academy. I've actually got this in an online course where you can grab this, sarahgorn.com/academy. There's a template in there that you can download and edit for doing training proposals. Next, make sure you've got a contents page. Make sure you've got an introduction that comes next. Now that introduction should actually be about them. It should be about their needs. So for instance, if I'm going to mining company A, I may actually introduce my document by saying mining companies depend on high productivity. They cannot afford to have any downtime. They cannot afford to have any wastage or loss. Having a loss of just half an hour per day can reduce production by so many tons per minute, which means you're going to lose X millions of dollars per year if that kind of lack of productivity takes place. However, I am an expert in whatever training that will dramatically increase productivity, therefore saving you X millions of dollars a year worth of wastage. I don't know, I'm making this up as I go, right? But you kind of get the point here. I'm making it about them. We're making it about the problems they have and how the type of training we deliver is going to help them with solving those problems or achieving whatever particular goals they have in their organization as well. So make that introduction not about, hello, our organization has been operating since 1997 and we are considered the best. Don't make it about you. It's about them. If I'm sat there behind that desk as the executive training manager or someone who's making that decision and I'm just reading someone waffle on about themselves, it usually goes straight in the shredder next to me. If it talks about my business, my organization, and I'm like, wow, these guys have actually read and understood my business and what I do, and they actually know how it feels like to be the executive of this organization. They know how I'm feeling. They know what I'm smashing my head against the wall about right now. Those are the people I pick up the phone to and say, hey, can you pop in my office and have a meeting with me next week, right? So please make it about them. The next thing you're going to want to do is add in your scope. So your scope is, what is it that you offer? What do you do? This is where you might list all of the different courses that you teach. For many of you, you may be teaching more than one particular field, right? I teach leadership, I teach communication, I teach course design, I teach workforce planning and development, right? So list all of the different areas and all of the different things that you teach. Also list down the different ways that you deliver. So tell them you can deliver self-study online courses, that you can deliver coaching programs, that you can deliver consulting, that you can deliver whatever it is, right? I mean, obviously only write it down if that's what you actually do. But this is where you're going to list your scope is the different types of services that you can offer them and how you will offer those. The next thing you're going to do is add in the benefits for them. And I do have a slide on this after, so I'm not going to go into that in too much detail because the benefits that they are going to get is really, really important and very, very powerful. So I've got a whole slide just with some examples on there for you. The next thing you're going to need, number 7, is your detailed curriculum outline, detailing all of the lessons, the modules, the learning outcomes, the assessment and delivery methods and strategies. That needs to be in there next so they can see exactly what it is that you're presenting to them. You're then going to give them all of the different options and packages that they can choose from. By the way, I'd recommend that you offer like 3 different types of packages where, let's pretend we're delivering this leadership program. I'm going to go out to my mining company and say, I want to teach your guys leadership. I might actually have option 1 is the online self-study version only. Option 2 is the blended delivery approach, where they'll get so many face-to-face lessons and so many online lessons. There may also be option number 3, I come to you and I deliver on site, right? And they're all going to have slightly different delivery methods, slightly different durations, and of course, different pricing. So giving people 3 options, sure, I wouldn't go more than that. It can get a bit too complicated. Giving them those first upfront options is fine. The other thing I usually add in that section there is also I can custom create a delivery method that will suit you, but here are the 3 basic packages we have for you to begin with. You also then want to add in a section about your trainers. Now, your trainers might just be you, right? If you're by yourself, that's absolutely fine. They will not think any less of you. You know, a lot of these organizations are just hiring a facilitator. So this is where you're going to put your bio. Please put a professional headshot of yourself on this. Put in as much information as you can about your experience, your skills, your number of years, who you've worked with, any reviews and testimonials and stuff that can go in there as well. Then you're going to need a section on your terms and conditions where you're outlining exactly what you're going to deliver and what you're not going to deliver as part of that service. So the implied and the less implied, the hidden things that you want to make sure they know up front. What their obligations are going to be, what are they going to have to do, what they're going to have to provide for you, what sort of stuff will they have to get ready. Any kind of payment terms, cancellations, refunds, what happens if a student drops out, all that kind of stuff you're going to want to kind of cover in those terms and conditions there. Again, you might want to put a line at the bottom saying we can negotiate these if we proceed, but you might just want to put them in there again. It shows that you know what you're doing, it shows that you understand this industry, and it shows that you guys are serious players. And then finally, add some boxes at the end for signatures. Sign it now. When you send the proposal, have it already signed and have their little signature box ready, right? If you've used the LinkedIn technique, you should know who the person is, so put their name and job title there so that it's ready for a signature to just be pasted on and sent back to you. Now, I know it's presumptuous, but this also is like you're making less hurdles. You're creating less work and less communication. Like, it's done. Here's the proposal. This person could just sign it right now, which is really exciting. And then finally, make sure you add your contact details at the end. So there you go. There are 13 things that absolutely must be covered in a basic training proposal. Hope that gives you some food for thought. I do have an example one, like I said, that you can download. It is editable. If you go to sarahcorn.com/academy, this course is actually inside the Academy dashboard and it has those downloadable documents in there. Now, the other thing that I didn't mention here is when you go into the pricing, you're going to need to have a really, really detailed cost pricing breakdown. Inside the online course version of this in my Academy, I also have a pricing table, which I will open for you just now, that will enable you to work out how much you're actually going to charge for this course, right? How much you're going to charge for your program, what kind of stuff and costs do you need to calculate, what's the profit margin going to be on that, and therefore what pricing or costing you're actually going to end up with for the client, and it will enable you to be prepared for that cost breakdown if they ask for it. All right, so very powerful things that we have going on here. It's a little bit of work, it's a lot of reward. Now, the next thing we're going to do is list our benefits of our training to our corporates and clients. Remember, in that training proposal, I said you need to list down what are the benefits they're actually going to get from hiring you. What are the benefits they're going to get from buying bulk purchase license users for your online courses? Now, there are obviously absolutely unlimited benefits, but I just want to help you get your head around how we're explaining these to your corporate prospects, and obviously there are going to be more that are very specific to your particular topic as well. But you can see on here, there's a number of different things like, if you take this course, if you buy this training from me, if you hire me as a trainer, if you take my online courses for your staff, you're going to get improved productivity and efficiencies. You're going to have uniformity of your work processes. You're going to have increased performance, more multi-skilled workers. You're going to meet your continuous professional development compliance requirements. You're going to have less wastage, less conflict, an easier, nicer place to work. Your staff will feel valued. We're going to increase morale, right? There's all these different things that are benefits to the organization if they hire you, if they choose you as their training provider, whether it be online courses or having you in there face-to-face. Highlight as many as you possibly can and make sure this goes inside your proposal. Okay, pricing your training courses. Now, we have talked about that at the beginning of the program. What I really want to just bring home here is there is no average rate. I often see people say in Facebook groups or come to me for coaching and say, Sarah, what's the average rate for this? There is no such thing. I have been paid $180 an hour. I have been paid $15,000 an hour for the exact same course. Right? There is no average. Absolutely is no average at all. What you need to decide, and use that costing template that I've created for you that is in this course in my Academy, to work out, what would people actually have to pay if they were going to come and have a one-on-one consult with me? What number of years experience do you have? What are your qualifications? Have you got any publications? Have you got any awards? Have you got any, particular public standing, a certain number of followers? Do you have reviews from other corporate clients who are similar to this one? All of those kinds of things are going to impact your pricing. Your industry is going to impact your pricing. There's a lot more money to be made, for instance, in mining and engineering than there might be, for instance, in social services, okay? I don't know why, that's just the way that it is, okay? It will also be the level of employee that you're targeting will also impact the price that you can charge as well. I think it's probably obvious that if we are going for frontline staff, we might be able to get a little less than if we're going and teaching, executive level staff. You're probably going to be able to get more money at that senior end. So again, bear all these things in mind because it will change what you're charging and what will or won't be approved by the people that you're working with. And be thinking as well, if you're calculating all of your expenses and all of your costs, are you going to be using software? Calculate that cost in, as well as all of your experience in your industry. What other resources are you going to need to buy in, produce, get help with? Are there any other staff or people involved? Did you have to hire a graphic designer to help with workbooks and worksheets? Are you having to pay for the printing of that when it goes ahead? Do you need some kind of administrator behind the scenes who's going to help manage and track student support? All these things need to be costed in to your pricing because these are all costs associated associated with delivering that particular service, right? So include all of that, and then think, right, what is my hourly rate? What would my half day rate be? What would my full day rate be? Perhaps instead you offer a per head rate. So you might just say, look, it's actually not about my hourly rate. It's going to be $500 per person, for example. Okay, I'm not saying that's how much it should be, just giving you a number. It could be that you have a fixed fee for an entire project. So like I've mentioned, perhaps it's a year-long training program, and you're just going to say, right, it doesn't matter how many people you put through this program, this is going to be $250,000 to deliver this particular program. Okay, again, only you can decide, and only you can know how many resources are required, how much of your time is required, how much of your staff or your team's time is going to be required, what technology and software you're going to need to pay for in order to be able to actually deliver this effectively and efficiently. So there we go, my friends. That is a little bit of an overview from me. Now, inside the online course version of this in my academy, there is a little bit more of a Thinkific screen demo on some of the setup. There is also the template that you can download for a course proposal, and there is also the download for the costing breakdown document as well. You can grab that by going to sarahcorner.com/academy, and it's part of the dashboard in that academy. And if you'd like some help with this, I have been doing this for 14 years. I've been the person on the executive organization side, and I've been also the provider. I can help you put your course proposal together. I can help you with the curriculum design side of things and that outline strategy, and I can help you with your marketing, your targeting strategy for these clients as well. So do feel free to reach out to me, sarahcorner.com/booking, if you'd like to book a one-on-one call with me to go through that. Alternatively, you can email me on sarah@sarahcorner.com, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Good luck. Learn this, work hard on this, do it slowly, do it carefully, do it well. I promise you it is well worth the hard work, and it will absolutely bring you a huge amount of joy to work in this space. And using the Thinkific platform will help you be able to systemize, automate the whole process, and provide an incredible learning experience. Good luck, and I'll see you next time. Bye.